Robbie here from ArsenalFanTV down at a very breezy Emirates Stadium today. Now I thought I'd do a little Q&A just to find out how you guys are feeling about Arsenal right now. I know it's the international break on right now, and how boring is that? I'm sorry, I just can't get excited about these international games at the moment. The one thing I know is that Arsenal have been playing pretty well. They've been on a nice little run, and the international break's kind of broken it up, and I would have just loved the momentum to have continued, but it is what it is. So let's get into a Q&A, some of the questions that you guys are firing at me. First we're going to start off here with Mr. DJ. He says, with the current depth in the squad, is there room for Jack Wilshere to return and compete, or is his time done at Arsenal? Wow, that is a serious question. Jack Wilshere, as we know, he's out on loan at Bournemouth. Has had a steady start. He missed quite an easy goal last week, a sitter last week for Bournemouth. But will he be able to return to Arsenal? That now is so dependent on a lot of things. Now, first of all, he's got to put the performances in at Bournemouth, so it's still early in the season, so we still haven't really seen the best of him. Secondly, I mean, you're looking at the team at the moment, the way it's playing really, really well. There's so much competition in that midfield area. It now makes it a really wise decision that he did go out on loan, because you couldn't have seen him starting in that. Does he get in ahead of Granit Xhaka once Xhaka's fully up to speed? Does he get in ahead of Coquelin? Coquelin, of course, a different type of player. You know, he's not going to get in front of Ozil, is he? You know, it's going to be really, really difficult to see Jack getting in that team. I suppose the one way you can look on it is that Santi Cazzola's starting to get a bit older. He's 31 now, he'll be 32 next season. Maybe it could be a sort of succession plan where Wilshere comes back and maybe replaces Santi. But at the moment, Santi is not playing like a 31-year-old player. He's playing like a youngster. So, and he's so integral to what Arsenal do. So, really difficult at the moment to see how he gets back in. Even at the moment, Aaron Ramsey, how does he get back in? So, my answer to that question is I really don't know at the moment how he's going to get back in. I really do think it's how well he plays at Bournemouth. If he puts in a really impressive season, then he can't be ignored. Samid Ahmed says, do you think that Wenger would stick to Sanchez down the middle even when Giroud is fully fit? Now, for me, I think he will. I think that what we've got at the moment is a front three that are really, really quick, really, really dynamic. If you remember rightly, Arsene Wenger, I remember last season against Everton, he tried it. He had Welbeck at that time up front, who was the really pacey one, alongside Iwobi, alongside Theo or Ox, and it was a really quick front three. Sorry, alongside Alexis, and it was a really quick front three. And I kind of think Arsene Wenger favours that. Now, when Giroud's fully fit, of course Giroud will get game time, but I still think that that's going to be the main front three, because that at the moment is working. You saw what it did against Chelsea, it absolutely destroyed them. And I think that that will be the first choice front three for me at the moment. Why change it? So, and just a good thing, because I think that's what it does. It means that Giroud, when he does come on, has to play out of his skin to stay in the team. And I think that's when we see Giroud at his best. Let's go to the next one. Indiana Bones, he says, what do you think about Perez? I generally think he's a great signing for us. And will he play a key part in our squad? Now, of course, for Lucas Perez, it's very, very early. I know there's a lot of fans out there who can't, saying to themselves, you know, why hasn't he been starting more games? Why have we bought this guy and he's not starting? For me, he's still early. He's got to prove himself. He's got to get up to speed with the Premier League. The Premier League is different to La Liga, as we've seen. It's a much quicker league. But listen, the goal that he scored against Nottingham Forest was really impressive. We're yet to see him do it in the league, and I think he's just going to have to bide his time, and his time will come. But at the moment, how can you take Alexis out of there? Hopefully he's the sort of guy that can replicate what Alexis is doing, because he is a pretty pacey player and he is a good finisher, but I'm sure Perez will get his time. Lou Barry says, thoughts on what Gibbs should do? Love him, he's a proper Arsenal man, but he's better than being on the bench. Of course, Kieran Gibbs must be disappointed, especially when he sees the England squad's being put out this week and he's not in it. If he was starting every week for Arsenal, he probably would get into that England squad. But again, I think Kieran Gibbs will get his game time. He has been coming on quite a lot. Arsene Wenger's been bringing him on a lot in games when he needs to shore things up. But of course, Gibbs wants to start games. But Nacho Monreal at the moment, his performances warrants him starting. And you know what? If you play football at a big football club like Arsenal, Manchester City, Man United, Chelsea, you know, any of those sort of clubs that are full of international players, full of superstar players, this can happen and you've got to fight for your place. So what I want to see Kieran Gibbs doing, which in fairness he has done, is just continue to fight for his place. And we get injuries at Arsenal as well, so I'm sure he'll get a chance to play. So for me, if I was Kieran Gibbs, don't be thinking about leaving. Think about making your name still at Arsenal. You still can. That's my message to him. Look what's happened with Francis Coquelin, from nowhere, and now he's like a regular starter in the team. And one good thing about Wenger is that he always gives players a chance. Samid Ahmed again says, I had to get him twice because this was another great point he made. He said, where would Ramsey fix in the current team if he comes back? Because after such a successful Euros, I don't think he wants to warm the bench. You're right, he doesn't want to warm the bench. At the moment, I can't see how Aaron Ramsey gets into the team. For me, his ideal position, Aaron Ramsey, is playing as a number 10. That's where you see the best of him. That's where that season he was really successful, scored all those goals. As a number 10, just behind the strikers, he's really effective. He will score lots of goals, and he's box to box still. But at the moment, to me, you've got to have Mesut Ozil there because he's such a great player. When Aaron Ramsey comes back, for me, at the moment, he's going to have to work his way from the bench. I don't want to see him on the right-hand side because he slows it up a lot. Even sometimes sort of playing in the middle, he slows it up a lot, and he's not a defensive midfielder. He gives the ball away too much. So it's going to be a real hard one. But listen, this is why we're paying Arsene Wenger £8 million a year. These are the decisions he has to make. This is why you want to have a fantastic squad. And don't forget, injuries happen, and we need to have a great squad. Arsene Magoo says, why buy another second-rate striker? He's talking about Lucas Perez there. Obviously doesn't rate him. When we already have Giroud, and then play Sanchez down the middle. Now remember, he started playing Sanchez down the middle because we just brought in Perez. Perez weren't quite ready yet. Giroud was out injured, and it's been successful. So why change it? Lucas Perez has been signed on a 4-year contract. He'll get his chance to play. At the moment, I don't think you change anything. And I don't think you can call Lucas Perez a second-rate striker. Not yet. He hasn't even had a chance to prove himself yet. Give him at least a season before you start rating him, you know. And even then, after a season, you can't fully rate a striker or any player. So, but listen, he will get his chance. Gaming Actor Star says, what on earth has happened to Debuchy? I kind of get the feeling with Debuchy that they wanted him to leave Arsenal. They wanted him to leave. He didn't want to go. They couldn't find a club for him. And it looks to me like he's kind of getting frozen out. Because even in the game against Nottingham Forest, when I expected him to play at right back, he didn't. So I kind of get the feeling that he's getting frozen out at the moment. James Morris says, if you could change anything this season, what would it be and why? What I would have changed was our start of the season. We went into the first couple games unprepared. We should have got Mustafi in. We should have got the players that we wanted to get in before that game, training some pre-seasons, and we wouldn't have lost that game against Liverpool. You know, remember the game against Liverpool, effectively we went into that game, we didn't have any centre halves. We were playing 2 youngsters in there, no experience down the middle, and we got exposed. And I think that we could possibly be looking at an unbeaten team right now if we hadn't have got off to such a poor start of the season, which I think has to be down to Arsene Wenger for not having everything in place for that first game of the season. Why couldn't they have bought Mustafi like 4 or 5 weeks before they did buy him? You know, he was available at that time. So that is the one thing that I would love to change. I gets muted. I'm not going to mute you, not right now anyway. He says, best player of the season so far, most improved and biggest flop. Oh, all right. So best player of the season so far, I'm going to give that to Theo. No. Laurent Koscielny, best player of the season so far. Since he's come in at Leicester game, he's been absolutely brilliant. For me, best centre-back in the Premier League. Tell me a better centre-back than Laurent Koscielny right now in the Premier League. There is none. He's the best. for me, so far this season, he's been our best player. Most improved player this season. It's a hard one because you could got Iwobi that you could give it to, but I'm going to give it to Theo because he had such poor season last year. Most people in the summer were saying, let's get rid of him. And ever since the first game of the season, you know, I had a poor pre-season as well, actually. But since the first game of the season, he's been performing really, really well. I've been impressed with him. He's been scoring goals. He's got his confidence back. He's injury-free. I'm liking Theo Walcott at the moment. For me, most improved player. Biggest flop. Oh, it hasn't really been a flop. Hasn't really been a flop so far this season. You know what I mean? I don't think that I could look at any player and say they've really flopped this season for Arsenal. So, yeah, I don't think we've had one. All right, a couple more questions here. And thanks, by the way, for everybody who sent them in. Hundreds as usual. Always Majid said, would you wear a Tottenham shirt and kiss the badge if it meant us winning the Champions League? No. Let the players win the Champions League. I ain't kissing no Tottenham badge, sorry, right? And finally, AJR said we should sell Ramsey, Ox and Wilshere. Ramsey has only had one good season. Ox only plays good, only in pre-season, and Wilshere's always injured. Listen, I remember when everybody used to be saying to me, let's sell Robin van Persie. Sell him, he's always injured, get rid of him. Then that season when he scored over 30 goals and he was banging them in, and then we all wanted to keep him. Right now, we need to try and hold on to our best players. We want to have a great squad. And a great squad means that you've got a great set of players. They may not be able to all play every game, every week, but let's keep this squad together. So thanks for everybody who sent their questions in for the Arsenal Q&A. Don't forget to subscribe here to ArsenalFanTV. And we're down here at the Emirates.